Aquarius Aquarius is an it's an interesting sign. Its ruler, I would say, gives us more insight into really what's behind the meaning of this sign. When we talk about Aquarius in modern astrology, it would be ruled by Uranus. And for those that don't know, Uranus is the planet after Saturn. And it isn't one of the visible planets. It isn't visible without a telescope. So that would be, in terms of the last visible planet, it's Saturn. And then afterwards, those planets are no longer visible. And when it comes down to Saturn, for those that don't know, it represents a spectrum of things, but I really want to hone in on the point that it also represents borders, boundaries, and 3D reality. Uranus comes after. And that meaning, that understanding that you have to really carry with visualizing, no pun intended, visualizing Uranus in that chain, you should understand that this is the next step that we should be taking as humanity, right? Now, mastering Saturn, I would say, is something that would make Uranus open itself up to us in a much more effective degree, and that is regardless of the aspects and the patterns. Understanding the pressures that Saturn has on your life allows us to go beyond Saturn, go beyond the 3D reality, the understanding, the harsh realities that we're faced every day with. And some of the things that Uranus or Aquarius would represent, and we'll combine the two right here, is innovation, new technologies, inventions, rebellion, politics, a renaissance, intelligence, revolution, groups, disruption, electricity, changes, sudden changes, and a spectrum of other things, including things like suicide, freedom, energy, engineering, and disruption in general, if I haven't mentioned that yet. It also represents things that are high up, or they're just loud in general, right? And Aquarius and Uranus and the birth chart can speak to also someone's relationship with gay and trans people as well, right? And these are, and this is a bit, right? This is quite a bit, but when it comes down to discussing rulerships, we can talk for hours. There's a book on rulership, and you should look into that in terms of the actual rulerships for every sign and planet. And you'll see just how much would be ruled by Uranus and Aquarius. And that is, I have discrepancies, but I think there are some very solid fundamentals in understanding that rulership in general, including places and things of that nature as well. And when it comes down to this age, when people hear Aquarius, a lot of times they think about the age of Aquarius. And I really want people to understand that this age that we're talking about when that's referenced, it's a very long period, and we're in right now the transition stage, I would say, rather than being firmly in Aquarius or out of Aquarius. I believe that this is a gray period, so where we kind of see the two overlap. We're coming out of the age of Pisces, and into the age of Aquarius. And this is, I think we're put in a situation to where in this particular transition phase, before we're firmly in one or the other, we have to make a choice, right? It requires us to make a choice. We're seeing things build up. We're coming out of that transition phase. For those who, many of us alive today are going to see us firmly into the age of Aquarius, firmly on the trajectory that Aquarius represent. And we have a choice to make. That's the thing. We have a very real choice to make. And because you understand that change is guaranteed, right? The projection right now, I would say, doesn't quite include people making up that age itself. Right now, it may be the people who are actively making up this age are really the 1%, I would say. The politicians, the 1%, and they're puppets. They if we stand aside and we carry on things as they are and as they have been, then we can expect that they will create this age for us. And it's definitely something I would caution against. But in terms of your particular understanding of your conscious experience in this lifetime, you should explore this idea of Uranus and Aquarius in your own birth chart, right? For those that don't know, everybody knows their sun sign. You know, when they say, "Oh, are you a Scorpio? Are you a Sagittarius?" And those are questions about your sun sign. But going a step deeper, looking into the chart and understanding your actual birth chart, that is what is really more concrete. It will tell you would have, in order to get that, you have to actually give your birth time, and hopefully birth time down to the minute preferably, but whatever's on your actual birth certificate, that'll do. And what you'll see when you look that up is everyone has Uranus or Aquarius in their chart. And I really want people to understand and look at the idea of what's happening in those particular areas in terms of hints of what this particular age of Aquarius may have in store for them. What does it mean in terms of the particular placement or the idea or the aspects that are really, really falling in alignment with your particular chart, right? Some of you are Aquarius. Some of you have an Aquarius sun, which is obviously going to be something in itself, but also look at the aspects. Look at the relation that it has with other planets and figures, right? So we have aspects in astrology, for those that don't know, that describe the relationship between one particular planet or body versus another. And this is how we really gain more clues about our particular role. And I highly suggest that you look into that, right? Because there may be some time down the line where I get more in detail about certain aspects and things of that nature. But I think there's a ton of good information. I think the only complaint that I would have is the fact that, the constraints that a lot of astrologers that are put in, I would say, in terms of the idea of when you're on YouTube, you have to simplify. You have to. You're not looking at one particular chart and example, right? You have to simplify things. And I said this in my last video in the North Node talk, but we have to understand that these things, in terms of understanding astrology in general, your astrology, you have to take these things and combine them with one another. It's an investigation process, right? And a lot of us are gonna be, we have hints, right? Like, these pressures don't magically start when we look up and learn the chart. The chart is the chart, and it will exert pressure regardless of whether you started to really uncover that actual pressure in astrology. It's going to be in effect. And a lot of us are already going to have hints about what happens, what happens, or what's happened to really help us understand. A lot of times it'll be more stressful situations. A lot of times it'll be blessings in a certain, from a certain person, and in the form of a certain person in our lives. It can be a lot of things. But that is very, very important that we take now to understand this idea of being a disruptor. The rulerships that we talked about a little bit. How do we take that? How do we take that and control what is going to come next, right? Because I said it before, right? One of the things that Aquarius and Uranus would rule over would be the future, right? And the future generations are heavily dependent on what we do now. I would say even it's critical in terms of the transitions that we can make, even with the understanding that I have about where we're at right now. We're kind of baby step. We're still in the. I know that the age of the internet has been around longer than some people have been alive, but I would say that we're still baby stepping into really this age itself, being connected to one another, how we're doing that, what we're doing, and that idea of what's possible, what will be possible. It's not going like it is. If I had my way, the people, the 1% would not dictate what happens. Even less than 1%, the 0.001%, they wouldn't be able to dictate what happens with this particular age. It would be us, various people, creating this particular age. And I implore you to really explore and find out how you'll take advantage of the unique pressures in your particular life or conscious experience, and do that. And I certainly hope you do. And until next time.